Long ago, on Halloween night, a masked killer roamed the decorated streets of a quiet Arizona neighborhood. This night was his favorite night. It was a night he could go out and walk among a sea of potential victims, spontaneously pick one out, and kill that person at random. No stalking, no planning, just relaxing, instant gratification. His blade trembled with anticipation in his hand as he hunted quietly among the crowd of excited trick-or-treaters. His breath was hot and moist behind the latex clown mask he wore, signaling that his body was brimming with excitement. His eyes raced from side to side as he watched countless children prance around in their spooky costumes, shouting with joy at the endless amounts of sugar they would soon devour. He knew how they felt, as he also felt the same joy for the souls he would soon devour. It didn't take long before he spotted a teenage couple a few houses ahead of him slip quietly into the backyard of a house. Perfect, he thought to himself. He knew instantly that they would be his treats for the night. Shutting out all the activity and noise around him, he began to make his way to the backyard. His only focus now was to kill that couple, and nothing or no one else existed. He peeked slowly around the gate of the wooden privacy fence, so as not to be noticed by the teens. Much to his surprise, they were nowhere to be seen. He entered the backyard and looked around, but nothing. He checked the back door of the house, but it was locked, and there was no lights on inside. Where the hell are they? He thought to himself, unsatiated, as he walked quietly among the trees in the yard. His question was soon answered by the girlish giggle coming from somewhere above. A treehouse was nestled high on top of the big oak tree in the center of the yard. The young couple was inside, undoubtedly doing what nasty boys and girls do when left to their own vices. He turned his gaze upwards as he walked towards the tree. It wouldn't be long before they'd make their exit, and he had nothing but patience, for he too had an explosive urge to release this night. As the couple entertained themselves in the treehouse, the silent killer leaned behind the tree and waited, raking his blade against the bark. He carved an ominous message that read, "I will find you, and I will kill you." A warning to any who would come across the mess he was about to leave. As he finished his crude writing, he heard scuffling on the wooden floor above him. I gotta take a piss, babe. I'll be right back," the boy said, slipping into his jeans. He blew her a kiss as he exited through the trap door on the floor of the treehouse. He didn't even get 1 foot on the ground before the killer behind him reached out and clamped his hand fiercely around the young teen's throat. He slammed the teen's head against the rough bark over and over as the blood sprayed onto his mask. The boy struggled to break free, but he was no match for the strength of this maniac. With one final slam, he heard the boy's skull crack. His limp figure fell free from the killer's grip and collapsed into a heap on the grass. Glaring down at the young boy, he felt no remorse for what he had done. In fact, it was quite the opposite. He was invigorated. A thump from above refocused his attention on the girl still inside the treehouse. He took hold of the wooden planks nailed into the side of the tree and made his way up to the trap door.
"Well, it took you long enough,"
she began to say as the creaking of the door echoed inside the small room.
"I thought..."
She stopped suddenly as she turned over to see who was standing over her. She began to cry in fear as blood dripped from his mask onto her milky white flesh. He gently waved his blade from side to side as he started to crouch down beside her.
"Please don't hurt me! Please!"
she begged, but her cries of desperation had no effect on the killer as he made his way closer to her. In a desperate effort to save herself, she began pushing herself away from him until she was in the far corner of the treehouse. The man stood up, sheathed his blade, walked over to her, and reached down to help her up, as if sympathizing with her. Her tears began to slow as she looked him in the eyes, believing that he wouldn't harm her. She smiled a bit before the man jerked his hand from hers and forcefully grabbed her throat. The rubber of the glove he wore was all she could feel before he pushed her against the wall and raised her body higher. Exposing the blade once more, he lightly pressed the razor-sharp tip against the soft skin of her belly. He didn't even have to move his blade, for her frantic struggles were creating deep incisions in her body. Thick crimson poured onto the floor as she slowly began to go numb. Aggravated by being deprived of his kill, the man dropped the knife and, grasping her neck with both hands this time, squeezed the remaining life from her body. As she hung limp in his hands, he threw his head back and exhaled a deep breath of satisfaction. After he had gathered himself, he carried the young girl to the window with his hands still clasped around her throat and tossed her out like a rag doll. The killer glanced down as her lifeless body landed beside her boyfriend, their hands now together one final time. After leaping down from the window, he paused to take a picture of his kill. One more to add to the collection. As the children continued to run up and down the sidewalks in search of candy, he walked silently into the night, and he was tired and ready to go home. That Halloween night had provided not one, but two treats he wouldn't soon forget. Although, a treat or two more wouldn't hurt. I growled as I reached out and grabbed the nearest camper's arm. This warranted screams from the others around the campfire, but laughter ensued soon after, as they snapped back to reality.
"That was crazy, Counselor Jack."
Awesome. Totally freaked out. Yeah, did you come up with that on your own? I've been looking forward to telling that one for a while now. But to be honest with you guys, I did base it off of an incident that happened not too long ago.
"Oh, I knew it. I thought I heard a story like that on the news."
The campers began discussing amongst themselves all the gory details, which led the kids to start sharing scary stories with each other. One boy, though, was looking over at me. His face was draped in concern. Why, though? Did the story scare him that badly? Perhaps he knew someone who had died in that manner? Or maybe, just maybe, he saw the small tufts of red hair sticking out from under the flap of my backpack. I smile, a knowing smile, at the boy as my hand slowly moves down to the knife I keep tucked away in my boot. I guess a treat or two more wouldn't hurt. Thanks for listening. Now, what will it be? Trick or treat?